Hello and welcome to the May Positive Images Festival Poetry Workshop. Thank you for joining me. Maybe you have already been to our short activity and you're coming, you've had a go at that, or maybe you've never joined us before and this is your first time, or maybe you've been coming to these sessions for years, including the in-person ones. However you've arrived here, thank you. Thanks also to Positive Images Festival who fund these workshops. If you have come for the first time and you like what you're seeing, then if you go to the playlist on my YouTube channel, you can look back at all the old workshops. But enough of that, let's get on with the show. So, we've got a few things coming up for you. The best practice quote from an experienced author. Also, a couple of questions. What is a tanker? And it's not a big ship, so if you're not sure, stick with me for definite. And what gender is the moon? Maybe you thought it was just a lump of rock, but I'm about to prove you wrong with this poem here. Okay, so in a few days' time, it's going to be the start of Pride Month, so I thought we'd celebrate that with a poem from Joshua Jennifer Espinoza. It's got some wonderful lines in it, so you may want to listen to it twice or even 3 times or search it up on the internet. It's also interesting to think of the moon, and this will make more sense when you hear the poem, think of the moon as female rather than just a lump of rock. As always, this is a poem that is about the moon and at the same time is not at all about the moon. I think as a female this particularly appeals to me, but I hope that it's relatable to everybody who's watching. This poem is called The Moon is Trans. The moon is trans. From this moment forward, the moon is trans. You don't get to write about the moon anymore unless you respect that. You don't get to talk to the moon anymore unless you use her correct pronouns. You don't get to send men to the moon anymore unless their job is to bow down before her and apologise for the sins of the earth. She is waiting for you, pulling at you softly, telling you to shut the fuck up already, please. Scientists theorise the moon was once a part of the earth that broke off when another planet struck it. Eve came from Adam's rib, etc. Do you believe in the power of not listening to the inside of your own head? I believe in the power of you not listening to the inside of your own head. This is all upside down. We should be talking about the ways that blood is similar to the part of outer space between the earth and the moon, but we're busy drawing it instead. The moon is often described as dead, though she is very much alive. The moon has not known the feeling of not wanting to be dead for any extended period of time in all of her existence, but she is not delicate and she is not weak. She is constantly moving away from you the only way she can. She never turns her face from you because of what you might do. She will outlive everything you know. Whoosh. Okay. There's a lot in that. Do not panic if you're thinking, what? Because my first reading, I knew I loved it, particularly those last 2 lines, but I was like, I need to go back and read this and take it apart a bit more. So there's a lot going on. Flag's coming down. So there's a lot going on in the poem, and I think it's interesting if you play the game of taking away the moon and changing it to female. That sort of shines a new light on it for me, and it looks at how potentially women have been treated, how women might be still treated, you know, in some areas of society by some people. It's about that respect for it. You know, men are no longer going on the moon to land on the moon and conquer it. The men have to go and praise the moon and apologise, you know, for the things that they've done wrong. I like the idea that it says the moon is pulling at you softly. It made me think of the tides and how the tides like pull at the earth. I really liked the example that we think, oh, the moon's just a bit of rock that came from the earth. Oh, woman's just something that came from Adam's rib. It's all those little things that it examines really closely in this. And it's a powerful poem. The idea, like, you know, it looks at blood, you know, which to me made me think about menstruation, something that a lot of women experience. And that idea that it was taboo for a very long time, still is to some people, and that's brought up, and it's this space in between the earth and the moon, almost like it occupies this space between people, you know, men and women. It's something that we can't talk about. So there's so much in here, and you might have different opinions to me. I'm not saying my opinions are right or wrong, I'm just saying they're my opinions. Let me tell you a bit about the poet. Joshua Jennifer Espinoza was born on December 17th, 1987, according to the Wikipedia entry. She is an American poet from California and has been published in several literary magazines. Her work covers topics like mental illness, coming out as a transgender woman, as well as more traditional subjects like love, anger and beauty. And her debut collection, There Should Be Flowers, was published in 2016. So if you like this poem and you'd like to read more of her work, then do check out her book. Right, let's go on to the activity. So your title begins, "The moon is." Your job is to finish that sentence with a poem. Many people have previously stated that the moon is made of cheese, so that's a bit of a cliche, but you might want to twist it on its head and play around with that. Of course, in this poem we've just read by Espinoza, the moon was trans. What could the moon be for you? Maybe the moon is an eye and it's all-seeing. You know, maybe the moon is a painting, maybe it's something that's not even real. Maybe it's an animal like a wolf, and you can assign it those qualities. The important part is to have fun and to write in your own style. So if you want to rhyme, rhyme. If you don't, don't. Have it as long or as short as you want. Have fun. What is the moon? And I will see you in the next activity. Okay, here's our quick write activity for this month. I would like you to pick a sound, not a letter, a sound. If you're stuck, pick a sound from somewhere in your name. So I might go with I from Emily. That sounds weird when I say it like that, but I think it's in there somewhere. Anyway, sounds, for sounds. We're going to have 2 minutes to write as many words as we can that have that sound in them. Doesn't have to be at the front of the word, it can be anywhere in the word at all. Aim for at least 5, because that's going to make it easier in the second part. So if you'd picked Z and now you're thinking that's a bad sound, I can't think of that many words, then you can change your mind, it's okay. We're going to have 2 minutes from now. Okay, hopefully you got some words down. If you need a little longer, you are always welcome to press that pause button. So now we're going to have a go at using some, not all of them, some of the words that you wrote down in your poem, because you're going to write a poem. Think about, when you're putting this together, the impact that the repeated sound you chose has on the poem. In some well-known poems, some we've looked at before, soft sounds, also known as sibilants, your s and your f sounds, have been used maybe to depict the breeze or the sea, or to reflect quite a gentle, delicate topic or person. And your plosives like d or p or b might be used to reflect like movement, so maybe horses' hooves or the repetition of a train or a car. They can also be used to give that sense of strength and defiance, so it fits in with the character or the theme of the poem. So have a go at using some of your words to create your own poem, and just play with those sounds, have fun, and see what you come up with. And I will see you after this activity. Press pause, do the activity, and I'll see you with a best practice quote and a final poem and activity. Okay, hope you had fun playing with sounds there. Here's a lovely little quote, really like this one. I say that every time. I pick them because I like them, and I hope you do as well. The creative adult is the child that has survived. The creative adult is the child that has survived. That's by Ursula K. Le Guin. So Ursula Le Guin was born October 21st, 1929 and died January 22nd, 2018. She was an American author, best known for her works of speculative fiction, including science fiction works that were set in a universe she created, and they were called the Earthsea Fantasy series. First published in 1959, her literary career spanned nearly 60 years. She produced over 20 novels and more than 100 short stories, plus poetry. She was a literary critic, she did translation and children's books. So that made me think, that's what these quotes are designed to do, make us think. What creative activities did you enjoy as a child that you no longer take part in? So for me, I used to love doing collage with rice and pasta. I don't know why this was a thing, but we used to stick pasta and paint it, and I really liked doing that. So maybe there's something that you used to enjoy, something creative, that you might like to have a go at again. Maybe it's a collage, maybe it's a sketch, perhaps you like pressing leaves. That's something else I used to do with my nan. We'd go and collect the leaves off the floor that we like the colour of, the red and orange ones in particular, and we'd press them between the pages of her big encyclopedia. It's all creative, and creativity is very good for us, for our mental well-being and our souls and all the rest of it. So have a go and see how you feel once you've done something a bit different. Okay, we will move on. You don't have to do that activity now. I'm not saying go grab some pasta and paint it. You know, that's something you can do after the workshop. We'll move on to tankers. You might remember that a few months ago we looked at haikus, and haikus are a Japanese form of, it's haiku, there's no S on it. Haiku is a Japanese form of poetry, and it's made of 3 lines, 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. And you did great because a few of you sent me them and they were brilliant, so well done. This time we're going to look at another Japanese form, and this is a close relative of the haiku, the tanka. So tanka actually means in Japanese short song, and it's been an important part of Japanese literature. It originated quickly about 13 centuries ago, so it's been an important part of Japanese literature for a long time, let's just say. The original Japanese form tanka only had one continuous line containing 31 what we in English would call syllables. It's not quite the same in Japanese, but it's our syllables. Now, most tanka poems that are written in English actually today are broken up into those 5 lines. So your first 3 lines take the same form as a haiku, but tanka's got 2 additional lines of 7 syllables each. The basic structure of the tanka poem, just to be very clear, we'll put it on the screen, is 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 7 syllables. So there's 5 lines and that's the syllable count. A syllable is just a part of a word. I always use my name as the example because it's really easy. Emily. Emily. That said, if you have a different accent to me, some words might have a slight change in syllables. So I actually had an Irish friend who called me Emily, 2 syllables, Emily. That's not wrong because that's how they speak, and I'm not wrong because that's how I speak, but syllable counts may change slightly due to accents and dialects, which is good because that's interesting, and we like anything interesting in language. So that's a syllable. I'll put it on the screen so that you know how many there are to look for in the tanka. Like a haiku, they don't traditionally rhyme, but you know, rules are there to be broken, so if that's what you want to do, then go for it. You might also remember that haiku focus on nature. Here's one of the differences between them. Tanka, in their absolute purest form, and this is the same with anything, feel free to break the rules, but they were commonly written as expressions of gratitude, love, or self-reflection. That said, a lot of them do have nature things in, particularly the ones that I have picked and gravitated towards. As always, I will do my best to pronounce the names. I've looked on Google for how best to pronounce them, but I can't guarantee that I've got it exactly right. So if you know better, then feel free to educate me. So this one is by Ogai Mori. 1862 to 1922, was born in Chamonix and became a doctor, but also excelled as a novelist, critic, translator, and of course a tanka poet. Again, like haikus, they don't tend to have titles, which is a real bonus for me because it's a pain thinking of a title that's like really good, so it takes away that bother. So we'll just say it's called Let a Poem Be because that's the first line, by Ogai Mori. Let a poem be like a crystal bowl filled with ice, delightfully transparent, leaving no spot invisible. And I really like that idea that we've got a crystal bowl filled with ice. What I appreciate about that is that it wouldn't be completely see-through, and there'd be a crystal bowl, you'd have to look around, you've got the ice, which is kind of see-through but not quite, which to me reflected how we feel about poetry. The more we look at it, the more we see different things in it, and like the clearer it becomes, maybe, as it is turned into water. But that's me putting my own ideas and thoughts onto the poem. But I thought that was a nice celebration of poetry. And again, something that was written a long time ago, you know, over 100 years ago, but still relevant today. Having just gone through the syllable count with you, you're probably thinking, those syllables weren't right. That's because it was written in Japanese originally, and when translated into English, it loses the number of syllables in this particular translation. So I haven't told you wrong information. It's the language thing that's going on again there. This next one, I don't have a bio for. I know who it was by. So Hiroko Seki. We know it's written, I think it was written in English because it does fit the syllable count. So I don't know when or where it was written, but I would imagine that they wrote it in English. So, in castle ruins, the tappings of a hand drum so clearly echo that in Komachi's dancing, even the moon seemed to smile. It's another one that's just very vivid, very visual, And I think that's why I enjoy these tankers and haiku. Tanka, no S. Tanka and haiku. So your challenge, you might want to find some more tanka if you're enjoying them, but your writing challenge is to think of something that you are grateful for. So in these two poems we've had that they were grateful for poetry, the moon, drumming. What are you grateful for? Think about it and see if you can have a go at a tanka. Don't feel restrained by the form, by the line count and the syllables. Think of it as, you know, how do you say what you want to say? How do you create that picture in a small space and make it effectively? So use it as a force for good. Let it get rid of the ands and the thes that you don't need. Any word that doesn't earn its place in it can go, because you need it to be very concise and clear. So that is our final activity for this month. Thank you again for sticking with us. If you've made it this far, whoosh, well done you. You've done a lot of poetry writing, hopefully, or at least thinking about poetry, which is good, because a lot of first drafts, I think, take place up here. So I hope that you're inspired to go out into the world and be creative, because we are creative beings. Our next workshop, our workshops are always the last Sunday of the month, except for next Sunday. No, next month. It's not the last Sunday, it's Sunday the 20th of June 2021, because we are tying it in with National Refugee Week, and it'll be a special looking at poems from around the world. That said, if you like sitting down and doing this on the last Sunday of every month, the video will be there, because I leave them all up. They'll just be up for all eternity until there's no more YouTube. So watch it at your leisure. Watch it all in one go or in parts. Pause it, use them however you feel you would like to. And take care, and I will see you next month on the 20th of June.